Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to EDUC103. The topic that we will be discussing this afternoon would be all about elements of a school culture and 8 ways on how to build a positive school culture. But before we get down to the nitty gritty of our discussion this afternoon, let's define first what school culture is. Well, if we say school culture, it's actually the soul of the school. Why do you think so? You're correct. So it actually impacts our day-to-day operation in the school. It does not only helps us to determine the success of the school while implementing some rules, some changes, or making some changes in the school, but it also helps us determine the success of our students. So let's discuss more about this as we get to know our elements of a school culture, starting with the vision and mission. If we say vision and mission, it refers to the values that the school holds, which helps them to pinpoint the philosophies and standards that the people will incorporate into their everyday teaching and learning. So, if it's mission, it's more on the public declaration that the school uses to describe its founding purpose and major organizational commitments. So, in other words, it articulates the why and the what of the educational institution. So, why does it need to be like this? Why does it exist? What was the purpose of this and that, and so on and so forth? So, this does not only reflects the consensus of the stakeholders, but it also reflects the collaborative effort among all the perspectives being provided by the stakeholders. Now, for the vision, if we say vision, it's the public declaration that the school uses to describe its high level goals for the future. So, in other words, it's their aim, it's their end point, it's where they wanted to go from where they perceive things in the future. It unifies the stakeholders, it also inspires them to do good, to work harder in order to achieve the goals being provided, and uphold the values that serves as the guide of the institution. Our next element would be values, beliefs, assumptions, and norms. So all of these serve as a guide and it help us to control the behaviors of our stakeholders or school stakeholders. We cannot abnegate the fact that when we are in the middle of heated conversation, we tend to insist more on what we believed in rather than listening to what are the other propositions or other possibilities or alternatives that we might be able to come up with or to apply on the particular situation. So these leads now to conflicts, disputes, arguments. So instead of alleviating the situation, we end up aggravating it. So, in order for us to avoid those things, we need to have all of these four because this will set boundaries, will give us limitations on up to where we should react and how should we handle things when it goes into a different path rather than to what we are expecting to have. When we say values, these are a set of principles that we hold or that an institution holds, which serves as a guide in daily actions that we make. These are also the way schools communicate, what it represents, and how it ushers decision making and how it introduces its priority. So, values now serve or act as a manual for everyone, for everybody, and how we should conduct ourselves. More likely, we also tend to take on the values that we were brought up with by our families. And we also have the propensity to assume that the values that we are following or the values that we hold are the correct ones, simply because such values are held by culture. So you cannot really expect one culture exist in another society or another community. So it varies. depends on the place, depends on their practices or the influence that being given to them by their parents. So when we say beliefs, these are the guiding philosophy in teaching and in learning. So it also serves as a guide of the school on how to deliver their service in the community, because we all know that we do have different beliefs and every individual has their own beliefs. Beliefs are actually a person's subjective conviction that something or a certain proposition is true in the essence of term or it could be false. In other words, our perspectives on the world have the potential to be either accurate or it could be inaccurate. It depends on how you see things, how you believed in them. And let's say, for example, you believe the sky is blue, and then others believe that the sky is red, it's orange. So, definitely, it's your perspective, it's how you see things. And another example would be the snow is cold. So if others find it warm or if others find it so so, it's what they believe in. And that's what you believed also, that the snow is cold. So nobody can deny that because it's your conviction, it's your personal conviction. So the next one would be assumptions. So when we say assumptions, it actually serves as the foundation of all the actions or many actions that the teachers would do every day. So in other words, these are what we assumed, or let's say, for example, you assume that the classroom would be like this or like that. You assume that the ability of this person is like this and like that. It also does not limit in the classroom and the abilities, but it also deals with the goals, your role as a teacher, your students, and a whole lot more. So it provides the foundation of various instructional actions and attitudes, whether in or out of the classroom. Now, norms. Norms are unwritten rules that are supposed to fall based on the beliefs, values, and assumptions of the school. Let's say, for example, you get to meet your teacher in the hallway. So you will immediately greet them with either good morning, good afternoon, or good evening if you have night classes. So that particular scenario, it's an example of a norm. Now, breaking that particular norm, you get to receive a disapproving looks coming from the people around you because you failed to conform to the norms that is expected to you to follow. When we say norms, norms are socially sanctioned standards of behavior, which is being set by either an institution, a group probably, or in a school. So it can either be prescriptive or prescriptive. Now, what do you mean by prescriptive and what do you mean by prescriptive? Now, prescriptive, it's how we encourage desirable conduct, like, for example, be honest. If it's prescriptive, we discourage undesirable behavior like do not cheat. So those are the difference of the two. The next elements would be rituals, traditions, and ceremonies. So these three make the school alive. It creates a lively atmosphere. It's because of all the colorful decorations, the lively music, the cheers and yells of the students, and many more. So it adds variations to the experience of the students in the school, which makes it more memorable. And try to imagine if your school doesn't have any of these. Don't you think it's boring? Yeah, you're correct. It's really boring if you don't have any of these. So these three add flavors to the school, to the experience of the students. So it's really necessary for us to have these three. It adds surprise, it adds like excitement, the feeling of excitement to the students. It's because they have something to look forward to. That's rituals, traditions, and ceremonies. Now, for histories and stories, the school past are where all the above mentioned elements originated from. Therefore, it is important to understand and know the history of the school. Yes, indeed. We all know that learning histories, it allows us to better understand what the standing of the school, why does the school like this, do like this, like that, and so on and so forth. It gives us a wider perspective so that we could connect the past into the present condition of the school. Now, it also allow us to see what's the reason why the school existed, who was the founder, what was the purpose of the founder when he created the school. So we get to understand, we get to learn all of those with the histories and stories. Now, for physical environment of the school can have positive and negative impact on the school's culture. Yes, indeed. Now, try to imagine if you're in the middle of toxic environment. It will not help you to grow as an individual, as a student, or as an institution. It's because there are a lot of things going on, like full of negativity. While if it's positive environment, it promotes a healthier, a livelier atmosphere, livelier environment. It promotes growth, improvement, and a happy outlook in life. We need to check our physical environment. It's either positive or negative, because if it's negative, it may only add to the stress that we have in our blockhead. So we don't want that. Now let's move on to 8 ways to build positive school culture. Number one, leave your vision and mission. Every school community should have a unique vision and mission statements that speak to the beliefs, values, and aims of the learning community. But it's not really enough for the vision and mission to leave in a file folder or to even sit unnoticed on a school webpage. It needs to be regularly revisited and reflected upon. This is to ensure that the school and its members are genuinely living the mission. Now, we have already discussed what was the vision and mission all about. So, when we say vision, it refers to the school goals or to where you hope to see the school in the future. Now, for the mission, it provides an overview of the steps planned in order to achieve that future. And a vision is concise and easy to recall compared to mission, which is lengthier and more explanatory in nature. Now, when both are authentically embedded in school practice, and when teachers or students, staff, and community members stay true to the shared vision and mission, a school remains bound together by a common drive and is united in its success. Number two, embrace social emotional learning for teachers and students. Nowadays, school is no longer solely about the three R's, which stands for reading, writing, and arithmetic. The school has even turned into a place that serves as a support to the holistic growth of the students. And when the schools decided to embed social emotional learning, or known as SEL, into their classroom and curriculum, students and staff learn to be mindful of the emotions, challenges that are present, stresses and traumas, and even make room for academic learning. Now, SEL programs can promote academic achievement and positive social behavior. It can even reduce problems, conduct problems, substance abuse, and even emotional distress. So, when we say holistic development or holistic growth, this refers to the social, emotional, physical, mental, and intellectual growth of a person. So, taking a holistic approach to education means that it focuses all the aspects of the child's growth, not just their academic advancements. Number three, foster a culture of resilience. Building a culture of resilience can begin in the leadership office. School principals and leaders are models for how to react and cope with stress, setbacks, and disputes. Students and staff look to the top for how to bounce back, adjust, and proceed against school challenges. If we say resilience, it means that it's the personal quality that predisposes individuals to bounce back after facing a certain loss or after facing unexpected difficulties or unpleasant situation. In other words, it's the ability to withstand or to recover quickly after facing some difficulties. And since we're talking about resilience, we also have what we call resilient leaders. Now, for resilient leaders, they do more than bounce back, they also bounce forward. So they take action that responds to the new and ever changing realities. And they even maintain the essential operations of the organization that they lead. And they also promote positive attitude, the can do attitude that permeates the larger school culture. Number four, communicate well and often. When a school leader ensures that students, staff, and parents are not only informed but have an active voice in their school community, they build a culture of inclusivity, eliminating the feelings of distrust, uncertainty, and hostility. So, in everything that we do, we always try to communicate, we always try to reach out, we always try to voice out the ideas that we have, the feedbacks that we have, the no the things that we think inside our mind, so no one's going to know that, not unless we voice it out. We try to reach out our audience, and at the same time they would also give their feedbacks regarding the information that you have provided them or the things that you have shared to them. So you get to hear what they think about it, how they see it, and basically it's more on their feedbacks. So in other words, there is an exchange of ideas in there. You get to let out or voice out the ideas that you have. At the same time, you get to hear the ideas of others or the ideas of the stakeholders. Now, this actually helps us to express freely the thoughts that we have so that the stakeholders will better understand why we need to come up with this, why we need to do this and that, and so on and so forth. And at the same time, we get to gain their support. So, in order for us to gain their support, we really need to communicate, to voice out, to reach out to them so that they could understand why we need to do it and what's the purpose of doing it in the first place. So the key to success in a school culture, or in school, is communication. That's the first thing. We also have honesty, transparency, and whatever we do, it should be black and white. Okay, it should be that way. It's so that there would be no gray areas, so that the stakeholders will not doubt you, will give their full trust on you, and this would contribute to the creation of a powerful and strong culture. Number five, recognize the awesome in your staff. Everyone wants to do well. School staff members work hard to ensure the best possible outcomes and experiences for your students. A school leader who routinely recognizes that the staff member's success is a feather in everyone's cap promotes the interconnectedness of the work. Celebrating people's contributions, efforts, and victories also make people feel appreciated and seen. So try to imagine yourself like your boss approached you and tapped you or give you a single tap on your shoulder and tells you that, hey, you did a great job. That was awesome. I never knew that you could pull it off. That was superb. So those lines would make you feel like, no, feel happy, and it will boost your confidence as well. and it will give you the drive to exceed more or exceed the performance that you have today in the upcoming task or the other task that you have, because your efforts did not go in vain. Your boss was able to appreciate it, was able to recognize the efforts that you have exerted on the task that has been given to you. So, no, it gives you or it allows your brain to produce the positive hormones that we know. So, definitely that makes you happy. So, it produces the serotonin, endorphins, dopamine, and oxytocin. So these are the happy hormones that we know. So if we say serotonin, it helps us to balance our moods, and it also promotes the feelings of well-being and reward. Now for the endorphins, it's more on like no, you wanted to overcome stress or any discomfort, any feelings of discomfort. So it helps you to overcome those. Now, for dopamine, it is also called the feel good hormones. It's because you get to have the feeling of happiness, pleasure, and reward. Now, for oxytocin, this is not actually a happy hormone, but it somehow contributed to you to be happy. It's because it promotes social interaction, which makes you or which can give you feel positive emotion. So, those are the four happy hormones that our brains will produce when someone recognizes our efforts. Number six, recognize the awesome in your students. Positive behavior interventions and supports. Positive behavior interventions and supports. So, PBIS is a way for schools to encourage good behavior with a focus on prevention rather than punishment. The NEA, or National Education Association, says that PBIS improves the social culture and the behavioral climate of classrooms and schools, which ultimately lead to enhanced academic performance. When we shift a school's culture focused away from punishment for noncompliance to a focus on recognizing and praising positive behaviors and successes, we move away from operating under a deficit model. So let's say for example, you're implementing disciplinary with zero tolerance policy or implementing disciplinary actions with zero tolerance policy. So this would only lead to your student becoming resentful, hostile, and worst comes to worst, they would end up being incarcerated, or in other words, they would end up going to jail because they have committed some grave misconduct or so. And it would be better if you would come up with a prevention plan instead rather than being too stiff and strict with your students, because it doesn't work that way. It does not apply nowadays. We need to let them feel that we are their second family, that their classroom, their school is their second home. So it would also be better to see the brighter side in everything that your students do. Appreciate all the efforts that they have exerted, recognize the things that they have done, and by doing so, this would make them happy. Now, our brains will produce the happy hormones, the one that we mentioned a while ago. So we have the um, endorphin, serotonin, the dopamine, and the oxytocin. So these are the happy hormones that we get to have once we decided to recognize the efforts, the success, the things that our students do, rather than criticizing them, rather than implementing some punishments, even if they have just committed or they have make some minor mistakes. So it would be better if you could just provide them some feedback and provide them some options that would make things better rather than implementing punishment right away. Number seven, make your school's brand and community members visible. When people walk into your school, they should immediately see and feel the school's culture. Why do you think so? Well, because we do have an adage that goes, first impression lasts. And this gives us an identity, our own identity, that sets us apart from other schools, that people would easily recognize that this is that school, this is who we are, this is what we do, and this is what we believed in. So this can start with visuals like photographs of the staffs that we have, the students that we have. We could also put the quotes that represent the school's beliefs about learning and showcase the work of the students on the walls, or display our vision statement. This would allow us to create the sense that a family lives and works in the space by making our hallways and classroom spaces visibly branded, warm, and engaging. So if we get to see a school that's very colorful, we get to view that they have a lively atmosphere, a fun filled atmosphere. So it gives us a warm feeling, and it also entices us to be more engaged into doing something, or into making some projects, or accomplishing some task in school, if that's the kind of vibe that our school is emitting. And definitely it gives us our own identity. That's the total idea here. Let's say, for example, Mike Enriquez. We all know that Mike Enriquez is a news anchor. Sorry with my voice. So he is a news anchor with a very distinct voice. Now, people might laugh. People would never understand why he does that. Why does he have that kind of voice? What is it, natural or what? Well, definitely it's a branding. It's also a branding. People get to determine, or get to know that that's Mike Enriquez. Even by just hearing his voice, they would immediately know that the person who's talking is Mike Enriquez. So that's branding. There's a recall. People will immediately remember that that's the school, or that's the person, because of branding. And with the help of your community um, members, this would be possible, and this would be, hopefully, or this would surely be successful in the long run. Number eight, remember that every positive word and action matters. Teachers' lounge culture has a reputation for being toxic with negativity. It's easy to sit around a copy machine, venting about the latest school policy, or a coworker's failure, or worse, a student's shortcomings. But negativity is contagious and seeps into the school's overall culture, soaking into the interactions between all of its members. Students look to school teacher and leaders to model empathy, kindness, and maturity. And given the fact, if you are in a toxic environment, or toxic school environment, it does not promote growth. It often conflictual, or conflicts arise from time to time. It's because of the toxic environment. Staff doesn't believe in the ability of the students, that they would succeed at the or that they would be able to accomplish this particular task in a given period of time. And generally, the negative attitude wins, because we all know that it's contagious. It's like a virus. Now, if it's positive, positive environment that we are in, for sure we get to enjoy our stay in the school, and it's because it promotes positivity, a healthy environment, and we get to have the sense of belongingness, and it also builds our self efficacy. And students also, since students are looking up to the school leaders and teachers as or to be an epitome of empathy, kindness, and maturity, then we can definitely show it to them. We need to learn how to put ourselves into their shoes, and try to assess what are we going to do, or how would we feel if we are on their, on their shoe, or if we are on their situation, so that we could, at least try to think of a better words or sentences or advice that would somehow help them, help them analyze the situation better, and make them feel that they're not alone, that there's someone out there who's willing to listen and who's willing to extend their helping hand, so that they will be able to surmount such predicament. And every positive word that we provide to our students gives a positive aura, a positive outlook to our students, a positive vibe. Since we all know, as what we have discussed previously, that giving positive comments or positive words to our staff and to our students, it lets their brain to produce the happy hormones. We already know the four of them. So yeah, it promotes a healthier, a lively atmosphere, environment for all the students, and it also improves their experience in school. So that's why action really matters. Whatever we say, it should also coincide to what we do, because it defeats the purpose of you saying it, and then your actions is different or are different. So we need to see to it that it goes along together. So no, we will not be criticized at the end of the day, and we don't want that to happen. And that's the end of my report. Hope you have learned something this afternoon. And for further readings or for further information, you may refer to these references that I have. And yeah, I hope you have learned something, and I hope you have enjoyed our discussion this afternoon. So this has been Rich saying thank you so much and have a great day, everyone.